order. You rise with me, and Mr. Jonathan Taylor will do our prayer for us.
Thank you, Randy. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day, the opportunity to come together as fellow Rotarians. We thank you for the technology to come together for those people who are at home and here in person. We look forward to the upcoming bountiful harvest of the fall and for the time that we can come together in person again. We pray especially for those people who are unemployed today, those who are suffering from the coronavirus, and those who have general anxiety. In the Lord's name we pray, amen.
Amen. Join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance
to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Very nice, Isaiah. Thank you, everybody. One announcement real quick. Golf tournament, excellent day we had on Monday. We had 108 golfers. We don't have any final numbers yet, but that will be coming as soon as everything gets tabulated. So it was a good day. Mr. Welcome to the Rotary. I can't hear you. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, Zoomers. Guess this. Horsley, is it? Perfect. Yeah. We're going to be our speaker today. Isaac's going to introduce him a little bit. Anybody have any? And looks like Isaac's brought his family. Did you have anything they want to say? Or?
I don't know. I don't think Elliot has been into the Happy Dollar concept yet, and Michaela has a full mouth. But I am going to go on camera. I have 3 Happy Dollars, of course. 2 are because 2 of my children are here. I'm going to go on camera, and those of you behind me can see as well. This is a Rotary certified Hawaiian shirt. The little backstory on that is that Rotary International Convention, of course, was going to be held in Honolulu, Hawaii at the end of July this year. And because of COVID and all the lockdowns, the event moved to virtual, but the powers that be had built or had made all of these Hawaiian shirts. So I have this one, I have a tan one, I have a black one. And because I love Hawaiian shirts. Those of you who have known me for decades, I used to wear a lot of Hawaiian shirts. So I was happy to get back in the game. It is, again, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but Rotary is in there, and of course it's just a Hawaiian shirt. So happy that I can wear a Rotary shirt.
How do we get one? I mean, we want to be cool like you.
Months ago, I sent out an email with the website link.
See who needs them.
The other Happy Bucks?
I don't know where I'm supposed to stand, so. Hi, y'all. I have a Rotary shirt on too.
Believe
It's good. Believe there is good. Whatever part you want to read. So I'm just happy because I get to be here today, working at home this week, and I thought I'm going to go to Rotary, but I won't be able to for a while after. Working hard in my retirement. I have 2 happy bucks. 2 happy bucks because, one, I won a bid. I got my shop finished in my garage. I know you guys all knew I got a house last year. Well, I had a cabinet shop for 25 years. So my shop is really important to me, and it's sheetrock. I got that done Monday, and I won a bid for some cabinet from the Smith House. I'm really nice.
So I think I shared with you guys that the first meeting I joined, I retired in January. And I have to tell you, after working 35 years in corporate America, being a person that likes to stay busy, it was tough. It's like, what do I do every day? Especially with COVID. I struggled for a while there. Just kind of like, what's my identity now? What am I getting plugged into? Rotary's really helped. Thanks for having me and so I can get involved, and, you know, I'm to the point now where I woke up this morning when I can't even imagine going to work. Sorry. Those of you that still but I think I got to figure it out. I'm enjoying it. I'm happy about it. Thanks.
I am happy for, again, a good golf outing. On Monday, it was a lot of fun. Our team played really well. Didn't win, but had a great time. I'm also happy that we're going to have a permit driver in the home tomorrow. My daughter gets her permit, so we're 1 year away from having a driver, and I'm counting down the days to get some help behind the wheel. So.
Anyone on the Zoom network? Announcements? And Isaac.
Well, it is my true pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. As Paul Horsley is an authorized and certified infinite banking practitioner through the Nelson Nash Institute. His formal education and work experience includes the fields of engineering and aviation. Mr. Horsley has more than 30 years of experience as a professional airline pilot. He is a published author. The book is titled Why the Rich Don't Die Broke, The Financial Prodigy's Secret of the Wealthy. In his book, Mr. Horsley educates the reader about the current fiat-based financial monetary system and why the infinite banking concept is the financial solution for those looking to build wealth without risk away from the government and Wall Street risk-based system. He and his wife are parents of 3 children, 1 grandson, and they reside here in Hudson. Paul, take it away, sir.
Hello to everybody. Thanks for being here. That's my first actual Zoom group meeting, so it's a pleasure to be here. I really want to thank Isaac. And you know what? My back is to you guys, so I'm going
That's okay.
and try to keep in mind that you're actually there. Okay. But yeah, Isaac reached out to me about 6 months ago, and I guess I was supposed to talk, I don't know, about 5.5 months ago, and due to the awesome world that we're in right now, we have a lot of things to think about, right? So, just so you get to know me a little bit better, because you don't know anything about me, I have been in this country for about 2 years. My wife and I both moved up here from Dallas, Texas, and I don't have a twang because I'm not from Dallas either. But having said that, we're both airline pilots for work. We started out in Northwest, and we worked in Delta after the merger. And so, just a little bit further back than that, as I was growing up, it was, when I got my first job out of college, it wasn't in the aviation, it was more in the engineering field. And one night I went home. I was working for a defense contractor, and I went home. And I turned on the news, the Dallas Fort Worth local news. And they started talking about what I was doing on the TV that night. But I was in a top secret program working on a special project on a new airplane. And that news channel started talking about what I was doing. Except it wasn't really what I was doing. They had just maybe 1% of what I was doing correct, and the rest of it was all fabricated. And when I was sitting there, I was in my early 20s, I was sitting there looking at it. That was my first epiphany at fake news. I guess that's a new term today, but that was what was going on for me at the time. I'm working there, and
Excuse me, Paul, can you kind of talk to the camera?
yes.
So they can hear you, they can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, so I had an epiphany at that point in time, and it was you know, I thought to myself, if this 2-minute segment is talking about what I'm doing and it's almost a complete fabrication, what about the other 28 minutes that I don't even know anything about? I was shocked then. So that was the first moment that my eyes were uncovered. And from that point forward, I mean, I was pretty young, so I was still, you know, not too worldly. I mean, I think everybody grows every day with that. And so fast forward, into the point where Delta and Northwest merged, okay, about what, 12 years ago. We were both flying for the company, and we lost, through that merger and through the company's bankruptcy, we lost our pensions, right? And that's not so much unheard of today, but it was significant for us because, I mean, they were six-figure pensions. We had two of them because we're both pilots. And it was like, holy moly, that's a big deal for us. And we had been, you know, we had made money and we were putting it in 401k and IRAs, and we had some savings too. And so during the 2000s, we were heavily involved in real estate, buying, selling, building, flipping. We were entrepreneurs also. So we had a lot of time as pilots because our schedule just let us, you know, roll that way. And so in the middle of 2008, we were at a financial conference in Green Bay. And that was another epiphany for us. It was a two-day conference. There were a lot of high-speed guys and girls from all over the country. And can you guys see me okay? Yeah, okay. And they said, we don't know when it's happening. It's going to come in the next 6 to 8 months, but there's a cliff coming, a financial cliff. And whatever you need to do, get yourself in order. We're like, we got a lot of real estate and on all this other stuff. And so on the drive back home from Green Bay, we decided we're going to liquidate everything and then go cash with all our 401ks and everything else. And well, that worked out well, didn't it? Because of what happened then. And then the merger came with Delta Airlines. And then we lost our pensions. And now all we have is a 401k. And we had, you know, we were just maxing that out as we were going forward in time. But the stock market does what? It's constantly doing this. And we're like, there's got to be a better way. And we have been studying the world economy and finance for years. And we just so happened in 2010, we're talking to a really affluent friend of ours, and he said, you guys need to just come over and have a conversation with us, with my wife and I. And we just need to talk about money. And because he knew I was looking for something, because I thought, you know, I was going in one direction, and he was like, you just need to come over. And so that was the birth of what I'm representing here today with Infinite Banking. I'm sure nobody here has heard of it. You may have heard a commercial or two. There's several different names, Bank on Yourself, for example, Infinite Banking is another. And so when we sat down with our friend, he asked us a lot of questions. And I'll throw some of them out here to you guys too in a few minutes. But once my wife and I left his house, we sat in his driveway for about a half an hour just sitting there, blown away. We couldn't even believe what we just heard or experienced. And it took us a few months to kind of get up to speed with the concept. But once we did, it was just like we just took all of our cheese, our money, we just kind of moved it in the Infinite Banking camp. And you'll understand why if you choose to, you know, educate yourself. And this is all this is today is just a little bit of education. I did write a book, and that was the birth of, I got tired of just repeating myself over and over and over again to just a ton of people. And I thought it took me 2 years, but I finally got it done, and my wife was really happy. And so it worked out well, and so it kind of relives this whole thing, and it goes through a lot of different things about money and what Infinite Banking is and how it interacts with us as opposed to everything else out there in the world, financially speaking. So it was quite a journey. And so when we figured out, you know, this is where we were going to go, we went and found the person who created the concept 40 years ago. And he lived in Birmingham. His name was Nelson Nash. And so we were fortunate enough to be able to just zip down there on an airplane and spend a day. And we met and talked with him. And we became such good friends. I mean, it's rare that anybody gets a mentor in their life, right? This guy was just a really genuine guy who who just kind of fell in love with us as much as we fell in love with him. And then he mentored us for the last 10 years until he graduated from here about 8 years. And so we're still very close with his family. And, you know, there's several hundred practitioners like myself in the country. But I was one of the few that actually got hand-taught by the guy who created this whole concept. And it was an amazing blessing for me and my wife and my family and the generations that are going beyond from there. And you guys or whoever else I interact with. Because the infinite banking concept is something that is no close to the chest of the elite. Very few people know about it. The only ones that do are the elite, a few politicians, you know, and people who have interacted with the practitioners of the infinite banking concept. So, do you guys study money at all? Do you understand how the world economy works a little bit? Yeah. And that was a big thing for me. And I mean, I thought I knew how it worked. And then, you know, the more I thought I knew, the more I figured out I didn't know how it worked. And it's just been a huge, just a huge education process in the last 10 years. And more importantly, in the last couple of years, because of what's going on currently, right? So in a nutshell, so to speak, the whole world lives in a fiat-based world, financially speaking. Does everybody know what fiat money is? Can you raise your hand? Fiat? Oh, nobody knows. Okay, so that's the deal, right? There's just, what, less than 10% of us. It's crazy. But we have fiat money, and it actually came into existence about 1972, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, right? Fiat money, what the simple definition of that is that it has no basis, in fact, for support. So there's nothing tied to it, like gold, before Nixon took us off the gold standard, which is an ounce of gold, okay, was around 32 US dollars, okay? When you disconnect the two, there's only so much gold in existence, right? So we could only have so many dollars, agreed? Okay, so if you have so much gold and the dollar's tied to gold, then you can only have so many dollars in existence. When you disconnect the two, what happens? You start becoming a printing press and freewheeling out there and just creating dollars like crazy. And so they thought it was a great idea, and you can see what's going on right now. Maybe not. Maybe you're not clear on exactly how that's working. But to move that conversation a little bit forward, there's two ways the US government creates money. And every country in the world has a fiat-based dollar. It just so happens the United States has a world reserve currency, which is important to understand, because if you want to do business with the United States, and typically with country to country outside of the United States, you've got to use US dollars. And so, I mean, this rabbit hole goes so deep. And so, to back up just a little bit, the US dollar is there's two ways our government creates US dollars. The first one is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is just a private company. Did anybody know that? Do you know that? Have you ever heard that before? It's a private company, just like Delta Airlines is. It's not. It's got shareholders, but it's not owned by the government, even though it says it's a Federal Reserve. Okay, so they create money based on what the Treasury, U.S. Treasury, wants. So the Treasury calls them up, and this is overly simplistic, you guys. So the Treasury would call the Fed and say, we need $1. And the Treasury goes, okay, we'll come $1. Take the dollar, right? Give it to the Treasury. Well, the Fed's got it so set up that they charge the Treasury interest to use $1 from day one. And so that $1 costs, let's just say, a nickel. if the Treasury owns that dollar for a year, they owe the Fed a nickel at the end of the year. Okay, make sense? So the Treasury takes a dollar. How do they implement it into the system? They've got to find somebody to do a job. So how do they call Joe? Joe, we need you to dig a ditch. How is it that the government gets us to use their money? They have to charge us a tax. Well, they can't charge us a tax if there's no money in the system. So they get Joe to dig a ditch and they say, Joe, we're going to pay you a dollar, but you owe us a nickel in tax at the end of the year. And Joe turns around and you can only pay your tax with the dollar, the US dollar. So they come around and Joe's got to pay the nickel tax. Well, in the meantime, the Treasury's got to pay the Fed a nickel. But now they're out of money. What do? They call the Fed up and they say, print us some more money. And so the system just keeps going around like this, okay? And so the more the Treasury needs money, and actually they get that through creating bonds, okay? In a super simplistic way, the Treasury goes, okay, we're gonna create a bond, but we need money to fund it. So they call the Fed, and the Fed gives them money. They create the bond. The Treasury owns the bond, right? I mean, this is like circular reasoning, but this is how it actually works. Today. So the Treasury creates the bond, gives it to the Fed gives them the money, they take the money and they inject it in the system, okay, in a variety of different ways, okay? So that's dollar of actual physical dollars, right, that you can hold. And anybody have any idea how many physical dollars there are in circulation today? Coins, dollars, stuff tangible. Anyway, about 4.5 trillion. 4.5 trillion, that's it. You hear 20 trillion, you hear, you know, the debts are 27 trillion, we're printing $1 trillion a month, or whatever it is. That's the second stage of how this world, how this country creates money. And so if you take a dollar today, this really blew my mind. You take a dollar today and you deposit it in the bank, all right? Used to be the bank would charge you or would pay you interest, yes? They don't do that anymore because we're right about a fraction above nothing, right? So you deposit the dollar in the bank. How much of that dollar can the bank lend out? How much of that dollar can the bank lend out? Just anybody throw a number out.
10 times.
What?
10 times.
10 times.
10 times, yeah.
Does that even make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make sense. You would think it'd be like, okay, so they can lend out just a fraction of whatever that dollar is, right? A percentage of the dollar. Well, they can lend multiples of that. It depends on the Fed and how they want to accelerate or slow down the economy. Okay, so at 10, 20 times. That $1 turns into $10 or $20. It's just that simple. Who's ever heard of that? That's called fractional reserve banking. That's the second way the United States and the world creates money. Just out of thin air. So you could look at it another way. Loans create money that goes into the system. So if you want a car, you go to the bank, you meet the requirements. They cut you a check. How do they do that? They just go clickety clickety click on their in their computer system, and poof, there's numbers in your account. Where did that come from? It came from the clerk or the banker clicking the computer and filling up the ledger with, say 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000 or whatever it is. It came from nowhere. And they have the ability to just take like a dollar deposit. They have the ability to go out there and multiply that dollar that they have as a reserve. Okay, I'm being very superficial here, but this is generally how it works. And so Joe gets the money in his account. He goes and pays the dealer for the car. What's the dealer do with the money? He pays, General Motors for the car, and then he takes a profit and he deposits it in his bank, right? Well, then he just created more money that that bank can create out of thin air. How about that? So now, how much of that fractional reserve money, US dollars, is in the world today? It's staggering. It's pushing close to a quadrillion. A quadrillion. It's pushing close. It's closer to a quadrillion than $500 trillion in the world, US dollars, through that fractional reserve banking. So you hear a lot about the word debt. We got debt, we got debt, we got debt. Well, we get so confused on what that word means. Because we when you hear, oh, it's going to kill our grandkids because we're going to have to pay this back. Well, if you create dollars, the Fed creates a dollar, and they put it in the system, and they keep putting dollars into the system from the first part that I talked about from the Fed. Well, if they pay back all that debt, and they call that debt, that's just the name of the money that they create. What do we use for an exchange, medium of exchange? We don't, right? Because there's no more money in the system. But that's another story, and I digress. I don't want to go down that road. So the whole world, the fiat money is the problem, if you want to call it. So they're just going to continue to create this money and do the circular reasoning thing. Like I said, the Treasury creates a bond, the Fed funds it, and it just goes around and around and around. While all these other countries are having to use our money. And guess what? Every dollar that those other countries have is loaned to them from our Treasury, right? And our Treasury charges those countries what? Interest on the money. Well, how do they pay that interest back? They got to borrow more money to pay so that is the debt that we think about that is never going to get paid down, you guys. Ever until there's a reset of some sort. I don't even know what that looks like. That's way above my pay grade. But anyway, having said that, what we found is that the infant banking concept, which you guys know nothing about, is probably the most incredible tool I've ever seen, financially speaking. And if my parents would have understood and done infant banking, I mean, I may have had problems in my life, but money would never have been one of them, because you can perpetuate and explode your financial world in one generation. And then you just keep rolling it over, and then you secede from the financial world. So now, we all typically save a 401k, IRA, something like that, right? Or we throw money into real estate, or we throw it into buying, a stock, an ETF, a mutual fund. And I bet nobody in here could tell me what the difference is between an ETF or a mutual fund, right? We work hard, we take our money, we give it to them, and we hope in the years down the road that there's going to be something there, instead of getting to that point, opening the door and seeing a Walmart meter greeter vest, because we don't want that. We want to have something down the road that is going to be there, financially speaking, so we don't have that problem. Well, in today's world, with everything else out there, you can use your money, put it in a ETF or 401k or whatever it is, and you have no idea what it looks like tomorrow. This was in that first conversation I had with my friend. And he goes, "Paul, you got a 401k, don't you?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "You got an IRA?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Let me ask you this question. And I'll ask you guys this question." He goes, "If you were a farmer and you had a seed of corn and you planted that seed of corn, what are you going to get at the end of the year if it produces?" 2 years. That's pretty good. So you get 2 ears of corn. And on those ears of corn, how many seeds do you get?
A lot.
You get a lot. You get like over 1,000, right? Would you rather pay tax on the seed or the harvest? Anybody?
See.
A seed, right? Makes sense? What are you doing with your 401k and IRA? You're paying on the harvest, right?
Later.
That's crazy. I don't, it's just crazy. And I'm thinking about the 401k, he goes, oh, you have access to that money? I said, well, up to 50,000, but the rest of it's locked up. And you're in, again, a regimented system of paying back your loan to yourself, so to speak. I understand that. But what I'm saying is the 401k, the IRA, that whole system is you're putting your money in their system and locking it up for years, right? I mean, years. 10 minutes. Okay, good. I got to go fast, guys. Sorry. So you're locking it up for years. And then you have to go use another part of the government banker system. You have to go borrow money when your money is stuck over here in the other part of their world for a life, right? Until you need it. And then if you don't use it within this little 10-year window or so, you get penalized for not using it, if there's anything there, right? And so I'm like, God, they've just got me coming and going. And they have full control, and I have no idea what it looks like down the end. I don't know what the tax consequence is. I just hate the whole concept. I don't know what it looks like. There's no way. Infinite banking works completely different. Instead of me taking a risk and putting it in their system, like in a 401k, for example. If I take my money, which happened, and I still have money in a 401k, I'm at their mercy because they're making money coming and going no matter what, or they wouldn't be in business. Agreed? I mean, Wall Street, they aren't set up not to make money. And you hear all this, well, they don't charge any fees. That's because they're getting paid somewhere because they're not working for free, right? So it's important to make the distinction between that and what infinite banking represents. And in less than 10 minutes, I'm just going to go over the basic concept of how infinite banking works, because you are seceding from the rest of this financial world. That's the plan. So it'd be much better if you had 100% control of your money, right? You had access to all the liquidity, right? 100%. It would be great if you had uninterrupted, keyword here, uninterrupted compounding of principal and interest and getting dividends on top of it every year for life and no tax consequences. No tax on the gain. And it has a yield curve that never, ever inverts. Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's the most amazing. And you know what the worst part of this thing is? It's been around for 200 years. We just didn't hear about it. I was at my first infinite banking think tank, years ago. This guy was sitting in the bank, in the back of the crowd. He was an older gentleman, and we got done with this one session, and he stands up and he raises his hand, and he goes, and the speaker said, "Yeah, what's your question?" He goes, "It's not really, well, it is a question, but it's more of a statement." He goes, "I've been in the financial services sector industry for 38 years." He goes, "Why haven't I heard about this?" He goes, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." And it is. He made the statement just kind of like, this guy's been in the business for 38 years and he's never seen or heard of infinite banking or even understands how. So essentially, here's how it works in a very, condensed version. And then I'll take as many questions you guys want, and then we'll go from there. So the tool works like this. You own 100. It's a tool, right? And the only people that know about the tool are you and the company that owns the tool, that is willing to share it with you. And this is all legit, been around for 200 years. And like I said, the elite use this all the time. So the tool, you take your money, whatever it is that you have in excess of your monthly expense. Okay, and we all have like just a little extra choose what we keep. Right? This matters not what your age is. Okay, age is not an issue. Your status is not an issue, And it's completely unhinged from the world of Wall Street and government oversight. So like a 401k, you can only have one, you know, an IRA, you can have one. I mean, it's just, you're very limited coming from that angle. With infinite making, you can have as many as you want, as much, and you can create as many banking systems as you want, which is cool. So you're untethered to the system. So, for example, you have extra money, that's what you start your banking system with, okay? And every cent that goes into your system, your infinite banking system, never stops compounding uninterrupted for life. And it also gains interest and dividends for life. And at the end of your life, it pays out a death benefit too. There's no other system like that. I mean, Wall Street doesn't have a system like that. I mean, you have no idea what happens at the end of the day with Wall Street. And you're subject to all the ups and downs and all the roller coaster rides, right? So, and again, once you deposit the money into the system, you have full control over it. You own it. You have full access to all liquidity of the money, unlike everything else, because if you take money out of the system in any other place, you have less money working for you. The moment you start reducing it, you have less money working for you. And here, your money goes into the system, you want liquidity, you simply borrow the money, you borrow money against whatever your cash accumulation is in the system. It has no bearing on the performance. The performance will continue the way it has been going to your death. So you have all of that, and all of that growth is tax-free, and it comes with a yield curve. Does anybody know what a yield curve is? Yield curve? No. Okay, so real quick, if you look at Wall Street and you look at all those graphs and they go up, down, up, down, up, down, that's a yield curve. Yes? Yield curve, up, down, up, down, up, down. So this is neutral. Yield curve is down here today. Is that a good time to buy or sell? Anybody? Fine. How do you know? It could be like that tomorrow. You don't know. What about above the line? Is that a good time to buy or sell? You don't know. It could be higher the next day. Wrong answer, but that's what everybody says. It's like, oh yeah, that's great. But how do you know? I mean, you don't know. It's such a gamble. The yield curve of infinite banking does that, like a hockey stick. And it never goes any other direction. And the further out you go, it's like planting a bamboo tree. Anybody know how that works? You plant the seed, you gotta wait a few years before you even see it, right? But boy, when it comes through the ground and erupts, what happens? It just starts really cooking. And that's exactly how infinite banking works too. The difference is you've got all of these great attributes and none of the risk. And I don't know about any of you guys, but we are groomed to have risk with our money, but we are risk averse in everything else in our life, right? I mean, who wants to go jump out of an airplane, right?
I've already done it.
No, shut up, Isaac. Anyway, I know. But there are a few that like to do crazy things like that, and you know what? That's awesome. And I'm not calling it crazy. I'm just saying most of us are risk averse in many points of our life. But money, they're like, yeah, give us the money. We have no idea what it looks like. You probably don't even know the name of the person that you give the money to who's overseeing it at their, you know, the company like Fidelity or whoever. It's rare that most people don't, like major corporations like Delta Airlines, for example. I have no idea who's managing my 401k other than I am now, as opposed to the way it was for the first half of my career. I was trusting that somebody else knew what the heck they were doing, and we're just letting somebody else run our life. But we work so hard for that money, and we just give it to somebody else freely. I mean, that's the way we're groomed. And they're making all the money, and we have no idea what it looks like tomorrow or the next day or 40 years down the road. And so, in a very simplistic way, this is what infinite banking is all about. There's zero limitations. And, well, I can't say that, but there are so few limitations on starting the system, typically everybody can do it, no matter what. So, you know, having said that, without getting into the weeds, you guys, I just wanted to give you a little bit of education on how money works and what some of the alternatives are to the system that we're locked into today that we have no ability to really control. And we have so many rules and regulations. And while our money is locked up, we have to use their side of their system to finance our lives. And who likes that deal? What if you could just bring it all back into your house and be your own banker? Is really what this is all about. So having said that, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was really fast and furious, but there's so much more to know about this, you know. And there's no way I can talk about it in 30 minutes or less. But I do have a book up there, and you can either download it for free if you're interested from my website for free. It's a PDF version, or handheld hardcover is $10. So I'm not saying you have to buy it, download it for free, whatever you like, that's in your hand. So anyway, with that, any questions, comments? Thank you, Isaac, for having me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody here listening to my spiel. Thank you.
So what's the average annual yield?
Average annual is around 5%.
Mary, did you have a question?
Nope, I hear you, Mary.
No.
I've been listening to all of your conversations too while you were. I'm just kidding.
Is there some vehicle or something that we put the money into?
Yeah.
What is it?
That's a great question. I was waiting for that question. Okay, so you know what? We are all skewed. Remember my statement at the beginning, like when I was watching the news. Remember that? Like I had a self-conceived understanding that the news was telling me everything that was correct. And today we know that there's a lot of misinformation being fed to us, right? The vehicle is an SDLIC, a specially designed whole life insurance contract. Okay, that's key to this whole thing. The caveat I would tell you is that your flag's going up right now. Insurance, what is that? I guarantee you've never heard of the companies that I use. You've never heard of how this product works, and you think, how can that be? I've heard buy term and invest the rest. Anybody hear that? Buy term and invest the rest. This is the complete antithesis of what that is all about. I'm telling you, if you just take the time to educate yourself on infinite banking, I don't care if you read my book or my mentor's book. He's got he was the one who first started it. Just spend some time. I mean, money is everything, because we work our whole life for that, and then we hope that there's something at the end, right? Or during our whole life. Why not have access to all that money for your whole life rather than waiting to the end and not use it? So the companies that I use, there's like this huge umbrella of insurance companies, right? And you could talk to 1,000 insurance agents. I don't care who. I've done it. Maybe 1 out of 100, maybe 1 out of 100 might know about this, but wouldn't know how to design it or make the infinite banking policies. You have to be with one of just a few handful of companies that are in the United States. So now you've got this whole umbrella of companies, and we have a sliver of companies that even offer this concept. And of those, I'm associated with 2, and those 2 are the best 2 on the planet. And they completely have adapted their product to infinite banking. And it's amazing to work with a company that is higher rated than any other company, insurance company that you guys are even aware of by name recognition. Okay? And until you have studied this a little bit more, I'm just telling you, don't say, oh yeah, whatever. Understand I'm using the insurance company as they have a tool. That's all you need to think about, is not insurance, but a tool. The tool is amazing. And that's the chassis, the foundation of which everything else, financially speaking, we build our world off of. So if you have a great, solid, super solid foundation, you can erect an incredible financial world, because you can use your money in more than one place. Your money is working inside of infinite banking. You can also use that money and go buy stocks if you want, or go buy a house, or go buy a car, or pay for college, or infinite. It's really kind of cool. So, did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I went a little long, but I'm pretty passionate about this. And I would tell you this, I have flown for a little over 30 years, and I'm retiring this month from Delta Airlines, and this is what I'm going to do full time now. And I'm pretty excited about that. So, yeah. Anybody else? Isaac?
So I'm a little biased because I know I've taken the red pill and I know quite a bit about this. But would you agree that just to understand and implement IBC at a personal level requires changing your thinking away from the thinking of the status quo?
Sure. Yes. If you don't at least have an open mind to start, you're not going to get over the hurdle, the paradigm shift from the pendulum swinging from everything that you've known financially to the whole new system, which you've never heard of, but is incredible. And it's super easy, super easy. Think of the Coke refinery, okay, and all those tubes and everything going around. This is a great perspective. That's the world of finance that we live in today. Infinite banking is just one tube. That's how simple this is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything out
Thank
there
you.
for the good of all the Rotary? If there is none, we adjourn.